that's my baby girl right there. Ooh, she with her friends. I'm a dog, I ain't shit. I'ma wind up hitting her friends. Bad guy, outlaw. Ooh, I'm like Pac, but I ain't die after the second time I got shot.
Drop, drop. Yeah, problem child. DC. Now go on, try me if you want, nigga. Try me. Come on and try me if you want, nigga. Yeah, try me if you want, nigga. I'm a big freight train and I ain't pumping no brakes. Niggas walking by the tracks like something. Fool, what you think? Got a couple loose screws. A trigger happy nigga with a couple new tools. I figure half these niggas trying to stay on point, but these rookie ass niggas trying to gain some points.
What's up? This is Tico Tren with the Tren Labs logo. This is Tico Tren. I'm about to do a Tico Tren MGTOW's Poetry Corner. Stop playing, because I overheard some funny shit this week that I never thought I would actually hear. And it was like the funniest shit in the whole entire world. Because, you know, we always talk about independent women and stuff like that, and how women are independent, and women up here talk about they don't care, this, that, and the other, they don't care. But, you know, deep down inside, they do care, and they very rarely show it, or most of the times they do show it, even though they fake like they don't care, because it does affect them, no matter if you like it or not. They affect them greatly. So I'm doing this Tico Tren's Poetry Corner just for that person. So, moving right along, get in the Tico Tren Poetry Corner. This is Tico Tren, Red Pill, MGTOW leaning. How are you doing tonight, gentlemen? And the few ladies in attendance. This is the Tico Tren, Red Pill Poetry Corner. Tico Tren, MGTOW Poetry Corner. Let's get into it. This one's about the independent ladies that claim they don't care and they too strong to care. I seen some funny stuff today. It was funny. I had to laugh. I had to do this video because the nigga had to laugh. It is what it is. I look at it like this. You can't say you're a strong woman and you don't care when you affected by it greatly, bitch. It don't work like that. It just don't work like that. Come on. So, I was saying some shit. I was saying some shit. What's up, Shinobi Wan? I'm not saying that, you know, it's funny, but I find it rather funny how much they actually care when you do something and they claim they're so strong and independent, they don't care, and it don't affect them because they don't care. And then like they bring it up, they bring us some shit and try to throw it in your face like a week ago or a month ago or years ago. It's like the funniest shit in the world. Like, how you going to say you don't care when you bring it back up, bitch? It don't work like that. You can't be strong and independent and be bringing up old ass shit. Come on now. You be mad as hell if I bought us some old ass shit. But it's like, it's the funniest shit in the world. And it's like, I don't even know what to do with myself. It's like the funniest shit in the world to watch a woman be mad about some shit that they claim that don't affect them or they claim they're not upset with. The funniest shit in the world. So I'm sitting there at the bar in my favorite watering hole like normal. And I'm just drinking my drinks and shit like that. Johnny Walker Blue. You know how I do. So I'm drinking my drinks and shit and minding my damn business. And this heifer going to bring up some shit that happened a week or two ago. But apparently she's a strong, independent woman and it doesn't affect her. And she doesn't care what anybody got to say about her because she's strong, independent women. So this heifer goes, you know, somebody going to take me out of my character last week, this, that, and the other. And then what she say? Then she going to say, oh, people just ignorant as heck, this, that, and the other, this, that, and the other. Now, if you know anything about me, I typically don't attack people. I defend myself. Or I'll do a counterattack on people. I typically don't just attack people randomly for no damn reason whatsoever. A nigga always defend himself. So if I'm defending myself, you can't be mad when I make some comebacks that's going to hurt your feelings. And that's typically how it works. So, bitch, how you strong and independent, but you still mad? Like, for real. Like, think about that shit. Like, It's like the funniest shit in the world. That's gonna be like the running theme for this whole entire thing. How you strong and independent, but you still mad? Like you still mad about some shit that happened a week ago? Nigga done forgot about it, but you still mad. Like think about this shit. Think about this shit. Nice. I actually like that too sometimes. The double black or the triple black. They got the triple black too. You know that, right? And they sold it for a short period of time. But yeah, I like that too. But I'm typically Johnny Walker Blue man myself. And it's like the funniest thing in the world watching women just get mad about some shit that happened a while ago. But if you was to bring it up, that'd be old news or you need to forget about it. But they could bring it up all the damn time. You ever notice that shit, one? Like, you know, I'm just sitting there minding my business, and this ever gonna bring up some shit that happened a week ago and still be mad about the shit. They're gonna take me out of my character. Why the fuck you still mad about some shit that happened a long time ago? I'm sitting there busting out laughing, and this motherfucker mad about the shit that happened weeks, months, a year ago and shit like that. That's like the best part when you actually get somebody and like they still complaining about some old ass shit and shit like that, especially women. Because they swear up and down that nothing bothers them and they A-okay and this, that, and the other, and this, that, and the other. But then they bringing up some shit from the past and shit. It's always the funniest shit in the world. So, you know, as I said in one point in this video, if you don't care and you don't bother you and you strong and independent, why are you still mad? Like legit. It's like the funniest shit in the whole entire world. So I basically made this to troll somebody for all intents and purposes because a person was mad that I said some shit to them about a week or two ago, and they still mad. And they can't even remember when I actually said it to them. They go, I don't know what week that was last week, week ago, week before that, other week, whatever. But, you know, see, people just get me out of my character. I'm like, nigga, I didn't get you out of your character. I'm sort of thinking to myself, nigga, I didn't get you out of your character. You came out of your own character. I never step outside my character. I'm always the same person across the board, up and down, left and right, because I'm a real nigga, basically. I say real shit on a regular basis. If I'm nice to you, it's because you deserve my niceties. If I'm not nice to you, it's because you need that ass whooping, basically, verbally, for all intents and purposes. So that's typically how I am when it comes down to it. I'm nice when I need to be, but I'm not nice if you're going to be an asshole to me, basically. I'm not a nice person at all. I've already admitted that. I've already said I'm an honest criminal. So I'm going to be as dickish as humanly possible. What's up, 314 J Rock? But yeah, it's the funniest thing to watch women get mad about some shit from the past. But the minute you bring some shit up from the past, you got to let it go. Like I love the logic and the shit that people do and say. It's like the funniest shit in the whole entire world to watch women do that shit. And it's like, I don't understand why. I quite don't understand why. Like, you know, it's okay for them to bring it up, but it's not okay for men to bring it up, or, you know, me to bring up some shit that they did. And it's always been an interesting thing when it comes to like these quote unquote strong, independent women. And the sad part about that is I always find it funny how it's the people who say they don't care, or they're too strong to care, or they're this, that, and the other. They're always the ones who care the most about shit being said about them, if you've ever noticed. But as I said in the beginning, if you strong and independent, why are you still mad? It's the funniest shit in the world to watch happen. And it's like, I don't really care, because it's one of those things where it's like, if I say it, if it comes out of my mouth, I thought it, I said it, it's done, basically. Not revisiting it, not going to say sorry about it. I thought it, I said it, it's out, I'm done, basically. That's basically how I think. I thought it, I said it, it's out, it's done. And so if I'm burning bridges on purpose, in other words. It's typically how I work. And this is one of those many things that people need to understand about me and understand about people in general. Because like something I notice about these strong, independent women, they always talk about how strong or independent they are, but they can't quite hold their emotions. They're not strong with their emotions, basically. They're not strong when it comes to controlling themselves and their emotions for all intents and purposes. But they talk all this mess about how strong and independent and how fierce they are and how much they don't care what other people got to say about them. But the minute that, you know, shit comes up or shit doesn't go their way, all of a sudden now they care about what motherfuckers got to say about them. It's always been a funny thing. It's always been a funny phenomenon, I've noticed. And I've never been one to shy away from honesty and for worse shit, basically, because I'll tell you how I feel about you whenever I feel it about you, however long I feel it about you, and you're just going to have to like it. If you don't like it, that's just too bad. You're going to have to suck it up. And that's typically how I am. But like, it's one thing when you're dealing with one of these quote unquote strong and independent women, they always claim how much they don't care what people think of them or how strong they are or what other people got to say about them don't matter, but they're still bringing it up weeks, months, years later, even though they don't care and it doesn't matter to them because they're strong women. It's always been something I've always found funny when it comes to women. These are typically the same women that can make the bad decisions. When they need to make a good decision, they can't make good decisions. When they need to make a bad decision, they make bad decisions very quickly, like that. Good decisions, not so much. Bad decisions, very quickly. This is typically the type of women. I remember I was talking about a woman way back when who only makes like $29,000 a year. She got a loan for a house for $129,000, and then going to turn around and tell me she can't believe she got a loan for the house. I started looking at her like, bitch, I can't believe you got a loan for the house too. Like shit. Like what the fuck? You make that much to be getting loans for houses and shit like that. And it's like it's shit like that just blows my mind when it comes to women. Because at that point in time, that's a liability. But you still it's one of those things where it's like really? You can't believe the bank gave you that. Nigga, I can't believe the bank gave you that shit. And it's one of those things that I find shocking. I mean, don't get me wrong, Shinobi One. I can believe it, but when it comes to those quote unquote strong, independent women who claim nothing bothers them, they're never bothered by anything, they're never hurt by anything, and what everybody got to say don't matter because they're strong. You know what I'm talking about, Shinobi Ones? Those women who are so strong. You know what I'm talking about, Shinobi One. Those women that claim they're so strong that they don't care what anybody got to say about them because they're bad bitches and shit like that, and they're all that in a bag of chips. And what anybody got to say about them don't matter because they so strong. Yeah, those women. You know what I'm talking about, Shinobi One. I'm pretty sure you ran into a couple of those ones, Shinobi One. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, it's one of those things where, you have to laugh at women who do that or claim that they're strong and independent and don't care. And they keep on bringing stuff up, but they pretend like they don't bring it up or they pretend like they don't care. But, they're always wallowing in the past, or they're always like trying to make something that it's not, or something. They're always trying to pretend like there's something that they're not. I was laughing because Stephanie said something to me the other day. Yesterday, matter of fact. Stephanie, this is a female. She said if a female has to make excuses, or if a person has to make excuses for not texting you or calling you. Yeah, you laugh in her face, they get mad. If a person has to make excuses for not calling you, they're not your friend. They're just faking like they're your friend. They're just faking it. They're just nothing but big fakes, basically. So I remember Stephanie told me that, and I laughed about it. I go, you know what? You're right. You're really right. You're right about that, 100%. Because the sad part about that is that's basically after you live life. Because my grandmother's told me shit about that too, growing up. And Stephanie actually brought it to my attention the other day when she's told me if a person has to make excuses for not contacting you, they're not your friend. They're just faking it. And they're basically one of them people who will fake it till they make it, for all intents and purposes, or pretend like they're okay with you or cordial with you just because. Lord knows why, because they're just, it is what it is. And those are typically the people that are bitter and they can't get over their shortcomings in their own past and shit like that. I can't call it a day. I laugh in their faces when they get mad at me too, because that's the type of person I am. But it's one of those things where it's like, it's funny when you got a woman literally telling you about other women, like literally, like that bitch ain't your friend, basically, literally. And it's one of those things where it's like you have to think about it. You got to let it swirl around in your head, and like you got to take it in for all intents and purposes. Because at the end of the day, if you have to make an excuse for not doing something, then you're not friends. You might as well just cut your losses and quit pretending and quit acting like it. It's kind of like what I say when I usually come into streams. You ain't no friend to me or kin to me, bitch. Don't pretend to be. Literally what I say to people. And I stole that from, I think it was Trick Daddy. I literally stole that line from Trick Daddy. You ain't no friend to me or kin to me, bitch. Don't pretend to be. And that's basically how I feel about a lot of the stuff that I go through in life, or a lot of the stuff that I see or envision or watch in life happen on a regular basis. You don't have to apologize, Shinobi One. You're fine. But it's one of those things where when you're in that situation, you have to be able to enjoy it. It's kind of like what I say when I say I roll with the punches or I go with the flow. I literally roll with the punches or go with the flow. If I say I'm rolling, if I'm going with the flow, that's typically me just living in the moment and just chilling, basically, for all intents and purposes. That means I'm just feeling the flow, basically. If I tell you that I'm rolling with the punches, that means that there's motherfuckers that's hating on me at this moment in time, and I'm just basically rolling with the punches, basically. And that's typically how I am. I just roll with them. Like, it's basically like boxing. Not stick and move portion, but it's like, when they start punching at you and they start giving you body shots, you roll with them, basically. Or when they hit you in the face, you basically send your jaw that way for all intents and purposes. Instead of trying to stick your jaw into their fist, you basically send their jaw that way, basically. You turn your head that way that they're punching your face towards. They basically roll with the punches, basically. That way you can stay up on your feet. You can stay up on your feet longer. You won't end up with glass jaw. And that's typically how I view life. I either roll with the punches or I go with the flow. And it's always how I've always been. And I typically only respond when I counterattack or when I defend myself. So if I'm defending myself, I'm going to be an asshole to the fullest. If I'm not defending myself, I'm probably counterattacking, which is pretty much a defense stance any damn way. And if people who know me best, they'll tell you in a heartbeat, the longer I have to defend myself, the more pissed I'm going to be. The more pissed I'm going to be, the more it's going to hurt. Or the more I'm probably going to, plot like, savagery on your ass, basically. Let it be like a gunfight, or let it be a verbal joust, or let it be a physical fight. The more I have to defend, the longer I have to defend, the more violent I'm going to be, for all intents and purposes. Verbally or physically, for all intents and purposes, is the best way to put it. And the sad part about that, people can't take it when I do it. Or people want to act shocked when it comes out of my mouth, like, oh, like, no, you had it coming. It's typically how I've always been. You literally had it coming. You can't pretend like you're innocent. You can't pretend like you're innocent and then be like, well, I was an innocent bystander. Like, no, nigga, you had it coming. You literally had it coming. And the sad part about that, when it comes to people always want to play victim. And I'm not one to play victim. Even if I'm innocent, I never play victim. I never try to make it sound like I'm anything other than. And hang on one second, real quick, y'all. Let me try to get this real quick. But I never try to make it sound like I'm a victim at any given time. I basically just do what I got to do to make it go away, for all intents and purposes. And it's the funniest shit in the world to watch happen, because everybody else gets mad around me, but they want to pretend like they're not mad when I respond to them. But they get mad a lot. People get mad a shit ton. And it's the funniest shit in the world. And it's like, it's one of those things where you have to be able to like roll with the punches and go with it, because it's one of those things where you have to be able to roll with the punches or go with the flow, because if you don't, you'll end up being upset, unhappy or upset, basically. And it's one of those things where a lot of people can take what I'm dishing out, but not too many people can, and it hurts people's feelings. And the sad part about that is it's nobody's fault but your own when it comes out my mouth or when I say it. Because at the end of the day, 9 times out of 10, I probably bit my tongue long enough. And what you done did or said basically was a straw that broke the camel's back. I typically just let shit roll for a while before I actually respond to shit. And people want to say, well, I didn't do anything wrong. This came out of nowhere. Like, no, it didn't come out of nowhere. You had it coming. Like that one song from Chicago. You had it coming. Literally. And this is, what you say, verbal joust or shooting words. Yeah, literally. I know, that's right. And that's typically how I am. And I'm very quick with it. So it seems like a drive-by when I do it. Literally, Shinobi one. It seems like a drive-by when I do the shit. And it's funny. It's the funniest shit in the world to watch happen. Because women typically would be like, well, I don't care, and this, that, and the other, and this, that, and the other. But you still mad. You still mad about this shit. This shit bothers you so much that you basically have to complain about it for all intents and purposes. And that's the thing that makes me laugh when it comes to women, strong, independent women, or women who claim stuff don't bother them and they don't care, and it doesn't bother them in the least bit. They typically complain about the most shit for all intents and purposes when it comes down to it. They complain about the most shit and they pretend like it doesn't bother them. Or they'll complain about the most shit and they'll pretend like, like they don't care. Or they'll pretend like, it's nothing. And the sad part about that is later on that week, they'll bring it up over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. It's like they never can let it rest because it bothers them. It hurts them to the soul. It hurts them to the core. And it's one of those things where I always say, if a person's coming at you like that, 9 times out of 10, they're coming from a place of less than you for all intents and purposes. And the sad part about that is I've always been a person that'll always give somebody a fair shake. Even in the dating market, I'll give you a fair shake. If you don't take that fair shake, then I'm moving them right along. I'm not going to wait for some bullshit. I'm not going to wait for something that you've given up so easily when it comes to the dating market. If you gave it up so easily, I'm not waiting for it. If you want to say that you're not ready for something, I'm not waiting for it in the least bit. I might say I am, but I'm not going to wait for it because there's only a time frame that I literally give everybody based on their intrinsic value to me. If they have no intrinsic value to me, then I have to make up something for them to be intrinsic value. Good example of that is one girl, she had no intrinsic value to me, provided me no fucking value. As a friend, as nothing, basically. I basically had to make up a role where I had her transcribing for me because she really had no importance in my life and she really didn't have anything to go on, basically. And the sad part about that, I literally told her that and she felt some type of way about it. It's like, well, you really don't provide no intrinsic value to me at all. Like, let's just keep it 100. The only reason why I talk to you, only reason I really have to talk to you because you're transcribing for me, sadly. Outside of that, that's the only reason why I talk to you is because you're transcribing for me. I really don't need you for anything else because you provide no intrinsic value to me at the end of the day. And I literally said this to her and she felt some kind of way about it. Like, well, forget you too. Well, no, you know this. I'd invent a position for you so you can actually stick around so I can keep you around or have a justify keeping you around. The sad part about that is it was so bad. Like even that wasn't all that great. I mean, when she did it, she did it, but when she didn't, she didn't. So it's like I got people that I'm paying like $300 to transcribe different things for me, and they're knocking it out in like a day or two and shit like that. It's like I'm paying them $300 a day, $300 a transcribe basically, and they're just knocking it out. Like they're knocking it out the park on a regular basis, and it's the funniest thing in the world to watch. Like, and I only paid this person $100 because it was their first time, and they thought I was paying them too much to transcribe. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, most transcribers come in at about like, I told them like $150 to $200 basically to transcribe for somebody brand new. It's like I'm basically paying you per video. So what is the deal? But it's one of those things where it's like, it's the funniest shit in the world to watch happen because people seem to think they have more value than what they really do when they really don't. Or they think they're because they're a woman, their values, the fact that they're a woman and they're in your presence, so therefore that's all they have to offer. When in fact, there's more to life than just you being a woman and you being in my presence. Like if I want a pretty woman around, I got pretty friends for that shit. I got very attractive friends for that shit. So what is the point of having you around when I have more attractive friends than you for all intents and purposes? And this has always been something I've always talked about. When it comes to my attractive friends, I hang out with my attractive friends for a reason. I don't need some pretty face hanging around me, especially if you're not attractive as my attractive friends. Like you ain't shit, basically, compared to my attractive friends. They're more attractive than you. They will always be more attractive than you. Even when they get old, they'll be more attractive than you. Hell, I know a woman right now that's in her 50s that's one of my used to be one of my attractive friends that is more attractive than that person. And the sad part about that is it's basically something that I ran into today. So I'm basically just talking about it out in the open, Mr. Ghost. So it's basically me talking about an incident that happened that I actually ran into today while I was at my favorite watering hole. That's basically all it really is. But Chernobyl one's a trip. Every plate no sharp. This guy. But it's basically all it really is. It's like I always laugh at women who claim that they're strong and independent or claim nothing bothers them because they're so strong and independent and they don't care about anything. What the fuck? The biggest rich, I'm almost staring at me. This guy. You're fine. You're fine, Shinobi-1. But yeah, you might want to kill that thing. Ghost. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, I always laugh at women who do this shit because they do care. Because at the end of the day, if you really don't care, you shouldn't have to bring up the fact that you don't care. If you know what I mean. You should never have to bring up the fact that you don't care if you really don't care. Because the sad part about that is the fact that you got to say it lets me know that you care at the end of the day. The fact that you got to bring it up lets me know you care about it so much. Burn that wall down, right? That kind of reminds me of the spider memes. I see the spider and the house is on fire while they're standing outside of it. But yeah, it's one of those things where you have to be able to, if you're going to actually fake like you don't care, you got to do a better job of it for all intents and purposes. You can't be up here talking about how much you don't care when it affects you greatly at the end of the day. And if it affects you greatly, it's going to continuously affect you if you can't let it go. It's typically one of those things where it's like a person that experienced trauma who doesn't deal with their trauma is always going to live with their trauma, or they're always going to play victim at the end of the day because they can't seem to let go of different things, nor do they want to work on their past. So he that's fucked up. I like that. That's a good one. I thought about doing that to people multiple times. But yeah, it's one of those things where you have to understand what's going on to make it a better thing. You're like a person, everybody's around you is always going to act a fool. Everybody around you is always going to be, what's the word I'm looking for? Everybody around you is always going to be the people who, who claim that they don't care just so they can get points, basically, or be a victim. The sad part about that, if you can't work on your trauma, you would never move forward in life. You would always be where you are, and you would always stay where you are if you can't work on your trauma at the end of the day. Working on your trauma is probably the best thing that you could possibly do in life. Without working on your trauma, you'll pretty much end up bitter and alone for all intents and purposes, the best way to describe it at the end of the day. And it's sad to watch happen. And you don't want to see it happen to people, but sometimes it has to happen just so they can learn a valuable lesson in life at the end of the day. And it's sad to watch it, but it's like, well, it had to happen. It really did have to happen. And it's one of those things where you have to basically be able to make it so that it's you have to make it so that you can mitigate anything happening to you or anything from happening to you at the end of the day. Because typically when I get mad about something, I don't get mad about it long. It basically goes away instantaneously, but I'm so quick with it that it might seem like I'm mad, and I'm just using wit on a regular basis. The sad part about that is when you use wit as a man, people typically want to call you bitter or angry, when in fact you're just using wit. You're just using your sheer wits, basically. And people get mad at you the most when you're just super witty. Like, especially when you got snappy comebacks and stuff like that, and just keeps on coming and keeps on flowing. And people want to get mad because they want the last word, because they're used to getting the last word. because it's a female thing, and there's some men that do this shit too because they want the last word. And it's like, I am not the one. I am really not the one to mess with because I'm going to hurt your feelings, and it's going to hurt very badly, whether you like it or not. And it's not going to be a fun ordeal in the least bit. It's never going to be a fun ordeal in the least bit when I make my snappy comebacks at you. It's always going to hurt. Most definitely going to hurt. And you're not going to like it at the end of the day. So you got to figure out what's going on with yourself so you can make it happen. Or you got to figure out what's going on with yourself just so you don't get hurt by snappy comebacks. Because if it doesn't hurt you, you don't care what people say, then you wouldn't be bringing stuff up on a regular basis when a person comes around, basically, all because you're upset that you feel slighted, when in fact you kind of sort of got in the way of a person who typically doesn't care if you're friend or foe. If you get in their way, for all intents and purposes, if they're handling a certain thing, they don't care if you're friend or foe. At the end of the day, they don't care that you're family or not. Basically, they don't care about none of that stuff. They just want something handled. They want to handle very quickly and efficiently, for all intents and purposes. But people don't seem to understand that, and they take it personally, and are always butthurt by you, which is actually very funny to watch somebody be butthurt by you. But it is what it is, and it's always how it's always been, for all intents and purposes, and it's basically how it always be. But like I was saying, it's funny how these people want to take their time on making decisions, or want to take their time on shit when it's the right choice, but they want to rush in for bad choices, basically. Because at the end of the day, it's one of those things where it's like, if you really want to make a bad choice, 9 times out of 10, if you're a woman, you're going to make it right away. If you're going to make a good choice, you probably won't make the good choice at all. If not, it'll probably be too late to make the good choice at the end of the day, because typically people will start packing. And I find it funny how people respond to me when I say things. Like a good example of that is, I was at my favorite watering hole, or my second favorite watering hole, and Steph said hi. The person literally like waved over their shoulder like they don't care. Now, I quoted something that Steph said to me earlier today. If a person has to make excuses for not contacting you, or, them saying that they were going to text you, but they didn't because they thought you were busy, when in fact they used to do it all the time before, they're not your friend, and they're basically faking it till they make it, for all intents and purposes. They're just fake. They're fake individuals. And they always claim that and these people are always the ones who claim that they're the real individuals and they're real so much. And they try to virtue signal how real they are, when in fact they're just as fake as the next person. Because you can't sit up here and tell me that you're a real person, but you quote unquote claim that we're friends, or claim that we're working on a friendship, and you haven't the decency to text or call me. And the sad part about that is, it's not even that though. Just say that you don't want me around. I'm perfectly fine with that. Because I've always said this to people. Look, just tell me, look, nigga, I don't want you around. And I'll be perfectly fine, and I'll be happy to go at the end of the day. That's typically how I roll. If you're not going to say it, then I'm just going to keep on showing up. It's not because I like you. It's because it's normal habit, creature habit, basically. So it's one of those things where it's like, well, I'm going to keep on showing up until, like, somebody says it to my face. Until somebody has balls enough to say it to my face, like, nigga, don't come on Mondays no more. I don't like you. I'm perfectly fine with that. And I'll pretty much pack it up and roll. And that's simply how I am. But nobody has the balls to say it to my face, but they always want to say how honest or upfront they are with people, but they don't have the balls to say it to my fucking face. They want to side talk me, or they want to talk to people around me about me, sadly. What's up, America's DeVille? They always want to talk to people about me, around me. And that's basically how they are, because they're petty like that. That's typically how you know you're dealing with a petty person, when they want to talk about you to other people, when they can't be direct with you at the end of the day. And it's one of those funny things where I sit there and watch it as they virtue signal how open and honest and upfront they are with people, but they want to throw slight jabs at you to another person. It's like, you still mad about that shit? A nigga done forgot all about that shit. Like, That's like water under the bridge for me. That's not even water under the bridge. The nigga just don't care. A nigga just don't care anymore. Like, and it's one of those things where like you have to understand that women never let shit go. No matter how strong, independent they are, no matter how much they don't care, quote unquote, don't care, they never let shit go. They never let shit go. It will always be that way, whether you like it or not. They will never let shit go. Because at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, shit bothers them. And when it bothers them, you're going to hear about it, and they're going to talk about it the most, sadly. And they're going to try to virtue signal how cool and calm and how great of a person they are while they're doing it. But the sad part about that is they don't got the balls to say it to your fucking face. They want to talk to everybody else around you about it. It's interesting how that works. But another thing I've noticed when it comes to I'm good, Shinobi. I'm good, Americas. I'm just basically talking about an incident that happened today that I had to make a stream on, emergency stream on, that I found funny when it comes to strong, independent women. But it's one of those things where, like, if you face it as a man, you got to basically be able to overcome it or dodge it or, just roll with the punches or, go with the flow when the things happen. Because let's just keep it 100. Nobody's ever going to be honest to your face, especially a woman that claims they're honest. That's like a woman that claims she's virgin in this day and age, or a woman that claims she's claims that she's never cheated, or claims that she's always upfront and honest to you. They're never going to be honest to your face. They're always going to try to do snide remarks to another person while you're there for all intents and purposes, because they just can't say it to your face. Because they're scared ass bitches, basically. And it's typically how it works. And I've always found it funny when it comes to these women. What's up, True Charm? And I've always found it funny when it comes to these women, how they talk the most shit about how strong and independent they are and how much they don't care. But they always act petty. And they always bring up shit from weeks, months, a year ago, sadly. And you're sitting there thinking like, bitch, I thought you don't care what people got to say about you. And it's the same shit that play in your head. So the funny thing about that is when you see that happen, you have to take into consideration too that that person does care. That person does care. Because the minute a person say that they don't care what people say about them, the fact of the matter is they do care about what people say about them. Or when they say that, nothing bothers them, or they're impervious to shit, it really does bother them, whether they like it or not. At the end of the day, they really do like it. They really does bother them, whether they like it or not. At the end of the day, because that's typically how these people roll and act. That's typically how all this stuff is. And when it comes down to it, you have to basically be able to, like I said, roll with the punches, or make it so that you avoid all the craziness, or make it so that you can basically always come out unscathed or unhurt for all intents and purposes. Like a good example of that is this person tells me to be safe all the time. Now, if you know anything about me, my definition of be safe and everybody else's definition of be safe is two totally different things. I know this person. You ever see that meme? I know bitches wish me well. I know bitches fake like they wish me well when they really don't. And it's typically how I am. Bitches wish me well, and I know they don't, but they really don't wish me well, and they just pretend like they wish me well for all intents and purposes. And it's typically how it works. They fake like they wish me well when they really don't. And I've always said, look, if you're going to fake it, just don't say it to me at all. I'd rather you not say shit to me and be honest instead of faking like you actually care. And like back to actually me talking about being safe. But my version of being safe and your version of being safe is two totally different safes. Now, well, I don't really drive the truck too often. I only drive it when I'm out doing routes to learn a route, so I can understand what a driver's going through. That's the only time I drive a truck. So I don't drive that often, Americas. So you're good. But the thing that my definition of safety is, as long as I walk out of it, As long as I can walk out of it okay, or walk out of it and brush my shoulders off and walk away from it, I'm safe. It don't matter what happened around me. Like I was telling somebody, a building could burn down around me and it could be on fire. I would simply just walk outside, pat my shoulders and put out the fire and dust the debris and rubble off my shoulders and keep walking. That's my definition of being safe. If I'm in a car accident and my car gets totaled, if I can walk out of it, I'm safe. If I'm dealing with police officers, and I can walk away from the situation, then I'm safe. If I'm dealing with anything else under the sun, anything that can possibly turn into something bad, and I walk away from it, I'm safe. It don't matter if I go skydiving and my chute don't open to the last minute, I'm safe. It opened at the end of the day. Or if I'm going skydiving, I happen to fall over some water and I dive in just right so I won't break a leg, I'm safe. If my chute didn't open, that is. So it's always one of them things where I have to basically, my definition is safe and other people's definition. Like I've been in gunfights before and I've walked out with no bullet holes in me. Like I've been in the middle of gunfights, literally watched the gunfight happen and unfold and walked out unscathed, sadly. And the sad part about that is when that happens, people are like, oh my God, oh, that was dangerous. And I'm sitting there like, yeah, it was okay. You know, and that's basically how I've always been. That's basically how I've always been when it comes down to it. What's a gun or a nearby rubber? Safe sex with a nearby gun or rubber. Nice one. True Sherm said fire run. The return of Vedic Ghost, right? He carries 2 guns at all times and 2 knives. 3 knives, actually. But yeah. But it's always one of those things where I basically, he said one in his pants and one in his pocket. This guy. 2 guns and 1 RPG rocket, right? 2 guns and 1 RPG rocket, right? But yeah, it's one of those things where it's like you have to understand what you're dealing with when it comes to women. You have to understand what it is about you that makes it so that you have to you have to basically be able to dodge it and roll with the punches for all intents and purposes, or be able to deal with the situation properly. That way you don't get butt hurt or you don't get upset by the shit that's going on in your life at the end of the day. It's one of those things where you have to understand the situation perfectly and be able to maneuver and or navigate the situation properly so you never get yourself into shit, or you never get yourself Except for that, guns are small shit for T. Right? Oh shit. But yeah, it's one of those things where Tico's a 21st century ninja. Tico 2 guns, RPG rocket, and a sword. Height. Right? Height. Trifecta, right? Height. But yeah, it's one of those things where like you basically got to be able to roll with the punches and dodge stupidity and people being petty all the damn time. Because the sad part about that is when you deal with a woman like this, she's always going to be petty. And she's always going to say petty shit to you for all intents and purposes. It's never going to be nothing cordial. You're always going to be petty. Another thing that Steph said to me, and it blew my mind coming from her mouth, was if you tell a person you're in a relationship and they don't talk to you and they act even more petty towards you, they were lying to you the whole entire time for all intents and purposes. They wanted more out of you, but you didn't give it to them and you didn't wait for them for all intents and purposes. And they basically want closure. So basically what ends up happening is when you're dealing with a person who wanted more but couldn't be honest about it and had to lie about it the whole entire time, even though they kept on dropping hints that they wanted more, you have to wonder what the person's thinking or wonder what's going on with the person mentally at the end of the day. 2 guns, 3 knives, 1 RPG. The rest are top secret. This guy. He's a walking anime arc. Yeah, pretty much. I am pretty much a walking anime arc. That's the sad part because my life is just so crazy. It's literally like an anime arc. Like I'm literally going to make a new anime on my Spanish channel anime, and it's going to be evolving around me. And it's just going to be the shit that I go through in life, and so people can like get an anime version of the shit that goes on in my life. And it's just the funniest shit in the whole entire world. When it happens to me, it's just the funniest shit in the whole entire world. And I'm sitting there looking at it like, bitch, why did this happen? Like, why me? Well, I am Tico, so yeah, I get that. And the sad part about that, my life is literally a walking anime arc. Literally a walking anime arc. When it comes to women, the women that's around me, when it comes to the shit I get myself into, the shit that happens to me on a regular basis, and shit like that, my life is literally a walking anime arc. Literally a walking anime arc. And it's like, I'm waiting for like Kishimoto or, somebody from, anime, anime 2 or whatever the fuck it's called to basically just write an arc based on my life. And I wonder how much it would sell for all intents and purposes. And that'd be like the funniest arc in the whole entire world. Too sure I'm cracking up laughing at me. Yeah, it does get old with female nonsense very fast. And the sad part about that, Steph was literally saying that, like, if a woman is upset, because the sad part about women, and I've noticed this with women, and FYI, I'm streaming on 4 channels. I'm streaming on Twitch. I'm streaming on Tico Tren race relations and race and gender relations. And I'm streaming on Internal Sadist and Vedic Ghost. So I'm on 4 channels. So if you see somebody pop up, they're probably on one of those channels on the screen if you don't see them in the chat with you. But typically what ends up happening is, okay, from previous generations, true story. And the sad part about that, when it comes down to it, it's one of those things where you have to basically be able to, be able to be in that situation, understand the situation, and get yourself out of the situation. It's typically how it works. So it's one of those things where, what's up, pass $40. But yeah, it's one of those things where you have to understand where you're coming from, and you have to realize that a lot of this shit isn't you. It's basically everybody around you at the end of the day. Because the sad part about that is people can talk the talk, but nobody ever really wants to walk the walk because it requires them to actually be honest with themselves. And nobody wants to be honest with themselves, especially women. They want to live in this fantasy world that they were told that, well, the person was going to wait for me. Well, no. Kind of like the one Kevin Samuels chick that with the chick that looked like Tina from fucking Bob's Burgers. Like, literally, think about that. Like, that's pretty much women in a nutshell. They want closure, or they want to still be friends, or they still want to talk, or they still want certain people in their lives for some odd reason. No matter how much it goes. And me and Stephanie were talking about this, and when we were saying it, and she goes to me, well, if you tell a woman that you're in a relationship and she doesn't text you or anything like that, she was faking it the whole entire time. She never wanted to be friends. She's not really happy for you as much as she's actually upset and or jealous and or anything else under the sun when it comes to it. Because the sad part about that, Stephanie's very honest when it comes to shit. And she observes shit and she understands shit, and she basically will let you know how she interprets the shit, basically, at the end of the day. So it's one of those things where Stephanie will literally tell me stuff, and I'm sitting there thinking to myself, you know what? You right, woman, you right. Stephanie's the new person on the channel, basically helping out with the channel. So yeah, she basically lets me know shit and her actual thoughts on shit, and when it happens, for all shit's purposes, when it unfolds. And the sad part about that, she said, if you tell a person you're in a relationship and they treat you like whatever, or if you tell them that such and such said hi, and they basically do the over the back wave, and they can't be honest about it, they're being petty. And the sad part about that is that person was never being honest with you from the beginning. And that's pretty much how it works. The person was never being honest with you from the beginning. And it's funny when you hear it from a Latina, a Latina tica, especially when a tica tells you the shit. A tica is basically a female Costa Rican. When you hear from a tica, when you hear it out of a tica's mouth, it is the most mind blowing, funniest shit in the whole entire world to hear. At the end of the day, because it's one of those things where you have to understand the shit that's going on. And like I said, I'm above all the bullshit too. I can basically be mad about something and it goes away, and it's like it doesn't even bother me anymore. I'm perfectly done with it. I done shot all the shots that I needed to fire. I done emptied the magazine or the clip, and I'm moving right along. Basically, it's typically how it works. And I've always been above the bullshit when it comes down to it. And people always hold on to the bullshit, and they hold on to these grudges. It's like they need that so they can feel better about themselves, or they need it so they can feel better about the situation. And the sad part about that is I'm just being honest and I'm just being me. You're just now catching, because I've always said I'm not the nicest person to white women. I've said that multiple times. I'm a very mean person when it comes to white women. I'm a very standoffish, meanish, jerkish person when it comes to white women. And I'm always going to be mean to white women, no matter if you like it or not. And it's like, there's really no exceptions to the rule. If you fuck up, you fuck up. You're catching the backlash. But the sad part about that, this woman apparently thought she was special enough not to catch the wrath of Tico, basically, because she thought she was a special white woman, when in fact she really wasn't a special white woman. She was just another white woman that was given an opportunity, and she blew it. But she doesn't want to admit that she blew it, but she did blow it at the end of the day. But it's one of those things where you have to basically be able to just let it go, like the Frozen song. Now, I hate Frozen, but that song "Let It Go" is literally the epitome of what people should do. Let it go. But the problem is people can't let it go. They have to harp on it. They have to be. Let me just say Big Steph. I'm gonna tell her you call her Big Steph. She's small as fuck. She's gonna kick your ass, Americans. You called her Big Steph. She's about what, like Steph is about like 5'1", 5'2", and she weighs about 110 pounds, 115 pounds. You calling her Big Steph? She gonna whoop that ass. I got 5 on Steph. Yeah, she's like 5'2". She's like 5'2", 5'1". She weighs about 110, 115 pounds, basically, soaking wet. So she's really not. She's really small. Yeah. Sometimes the best advice comes from the unlikeliest source. Sadly, true, Sherm. The best advice comes from the unlikeliest source. Sadly, sometimes, and it's funny when it happens, and it's like, well, that just happened. That literally just happened, and it's funny when it happens, my guy. It's like you have to basically be able to roll with it. America's is a nut. Yeah, it is. There is a natural order to gender relations, sadly. But the sad part about that, people don't know their roles anymore, and they come out of pocket, and they don't seem to know why shit's happening to them. The sad part about that, it's like they come out of pocket, and they don't understand why the shit is actually happening to them, or they don't quite understand what's going on around them, because they don't pay attention to the shit that comes out of their mouth, and they think they're always right. So when somebody responds to them, they want to act like a victim. And this is basically the society we're living in today, where everybody's a victim, and everybody has victimhood status, sadly. And it's one of those things where, like, you have to understand as a human being that Steph's a hobbit. She won't whoop that ass too, Shelby one. Steph's a hobbit. I think you have to be what, like 3 foot something to be considered a hobbit, don't you? Or something under like 4 something to be a hobbit, for all intents and purposes. But at the end of the day, what it comes down to is you're going to run into a lot of problems with people in your life. It's going to happen everywhere in your life. It's all about how you deal with them, and you make the shit happens around you for all intents and purposes. It's all about how you deal with the shit for all intents and purposes, and make it so that you can roll with the punches at the end of the day. The more you can roll with the punches, the better off you can be. The better off you can be, the better off as a human being you would ever be for all intents and purposes. The best way to put it. So as long as you can roll with the punches, you'll be fine. What you say? I'm going to dunk on Steph. I think she probably foul you before she let you dunk on her. She's the type of person that would eat that foul before she let you dunk on her. You got to earn that dunk, basically. That's her attitude. You got to earn this dunk. That's Stephanie's attitude. And that's good to hear, True Sherman. That's good to hear. That's good to hear that y'all two aren't beefing anymore. That's good to hear. That's good to hear. You got to keep it 100, Pemper. You got to keep it 100. And I basically bring up Steph because people always talk about we hate women in the manosphere. And I got a bunch of women around me that literally are good women that literally are good employees and good people and good family and good friends, basically. Peace holders. Yeah, it's like I'll put you in it, right? Know your place or I'll put you in it. That's too funny. I don't know. I don't think Steph will take that flop. She'll foul you, Shinobi One. She will foul the shit out of you. she'll foul the shit out of you, and you'll be like, "What the fuck? This little ass bitch." But yeah, it's one of those things where people always say that we hate women in the manosphere, and when we don't. So I typically bring up women that's around me, just so people could be like, "Well, they hate women." Well, Tico Tren over here, aka Vedic Ghost, aka Internal Sadist, has women working for him, has women in his life and women that's around him on a regular basis. How does he hate women? So like, it's one of those things where like you always have to basically be able to mitigate any damages to you or mitigate anything by having retort or something like that, basically, or having something to basically, minimize what people got to say about you. And the sad part about that, the shit's always going to roll in, no matter if you like it or not. But it's all about how you handle it at the end of the day. If you don't handle it right, then shit's not going to go right at the end of the day once you think about it. And it's pretty much how it is. You try to hurt these nuts, all bets is off. You're a trip. But yeah, it's one of those things where you have to basically be able to put forth effort or put forth the time and effort to mend fences for all intents and purposes. If you can't mend fences, then you shouldn't be trying to be friends with somebody. Or a good example of that is I have this thing when it comes to apologies. If a person can't apologize, it shows a lack of growth within that person at the end of the day. If a person can't apologize properly, it shows that person has a lack of growth and a lack of maturity at the end of the day. So if you take anything from this, if you take anything from this stream, take that most definitely. If a person can't apologize properly or don't apologize at all, it shows a lack of maturity and a lack of growth within that person. That's typically how it works. Because everybody will be out here talking about how strong and how much of an adult they are and how strong and independent they are as women and this, that, and the other. But they can't even apologize properly. Like, I got an apology from a woman. This was literally the apology. I shit you not. This was literally the apology. I apologize, but I don't think I did anything wrong. Or I don't think I did any of that stuff. Well, bitch, that's basically like saying this but. Like, you pretty much just put but in there. So, you put a silent but in there, basically. And the sad part about that, if a person got to make an excuse after they apologize or make an excuse before they apologize, it's not even a real apology. They're basically doing it for themselves at the end of the day. They're basically trying to minimize the shit that they did to make it sound like they're a victim, or sound like they don't know, they didn't do anything wrong for all intents and purposes. That's typically how it works. He said, "Don't be getting me beat up by staff." Protect the family jewels. Sherm's been training for Steph. He's going to crush it daily. And it's one of those things where you have to basically have to mitigate it, or make it so that you don't suffer from stupidity, or suffer from any backlash or fallout from anything you do at the end of the day. Because the sad part about that is, like I said, if a person can't apologize properly and they got to make up excuses, then it shows a lack of maturity or growth within them. The same thing goes with what Stephanie said. If a person will fake like they wish you well, and they really don't. They basically want to see your demise, or they want to see you suffer, or they want to see you unhappy at the end of the day, because they're unhappy themselves. And the sad part about that, if they were playing games the whole entire time, they expected you to play the game for a long time. And the minute you get out of that game, they get upset and they get very bitter about you getting out of the game for all intents and purposes. Because this is something that women always do when it comes to men. Like, they expect a man to be around forever and be at their beck and call and want them to be around. But the sad part about that is there's only a time frame for certain men, especially if you're a high value man, there's only a time frame on how long a high value man will wait around for somebody for all intents and purposes. When you're high value, there's limits to everything, because there's limits to your time. There's only but so much you accept, and only but so much you're willing to take before you say, fuck it, this is not worth it at the end of the day. And the sad part about that, there's a lot of women in this world that's not worth it. Sadly, there's a lot of women that fuck up their own chances of actually being happy on a regular basis. But then they want to blame a man for not being there for them or be around, or they want to be petty about a man who said some shit to them weeks or months ago, and they still want to bring it up and be petty about it. It's typically how that works. Because if a person got to bring some shit up and be petty about it, were they really your friends? Were they really your friend in the first damn place? And if a person got to make excuses for not calling you or texting you, are they really your friend? Like, my favorite excuse that I've heard recently when it comes to people faking like they're my friends is, I was going to text you, but I thought you were too busy. Like, you texted me before when I was too busy. I've talked to you on the phone when I was busy, but all of a sudden now we got excuses for not texting me. Okay, I'm going to need you to save your bullshit and keep it moving, sadly. And it's one of those things that you have to understand when it comes to women. They're always going to sit there and lie to your face. They're always going to sit there and lie to your face, because they can't be honest to your face. Because even when they say they're being honest to your face, they're only telling half truth or a quarter of the truth, basically, when they're trying to be honest to your quote unquote face. Because they can't be 100% honest to you, because they'll lie, or they'll make something up so they can justify why they do things that they do, sadly. And it's something that I notice with women. They'll always justify what they do by making shit up and saying, well, I did this because of this. Well, no, you didn't do this because of this. You did it because you're hurt, and now you want to protect yourself, and now you want to stop yourself from being hurt, when in fact you're the one that got yourself in a situation in the first place. But you want to blame me for your hurt at the end of the day, when in fact I'm not the reason for your hurt. I just basically became an adult and just walked away, kind of like how MGTOW does. Man going his own way, or man walking away. Man going to walk away. And the sad part about that, when it comes to a relationship, when it comes to a high value man, the man's going to walk away eventually. He's not going to stick around and hope for the best when it comes to people. He's going to walk away. You're not going to like him walking away. And it's always going to happen, sadly, whether you like it or not. It is what it is. And it's one of those things where you give a person a chance and they shoot themselves in the foot, and they shoot you in the process. So why am I going to give a person a chance again to do the same stupid shit over and over again? It's kind of like that one saying, Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Why do I want you around? When in fact, you're not worth my time. You don't bring intrinsic value, nor are you anything special to me, sadly. Like, I literally had to make up a position to keep you around so I wouldn't get rid of your ass. Transcribe. Like, I normally got people that do that for me. So for me to make it up for you, that's like sad, honest truth, sadly. Like, I really don't need you around. So I basically just made up an excuse to basically keep you around. Because you provided no intrinsic value at the end of the day, whether you like it or not. It sucks, but it's true. You provided no intrinsic value to me. I value at the end of the day, whether you like it or not. But it's one of those things where all these people have to learn how to. Yeah, I love that one too. Or I like the one where they'll project how they feel. Like, my favorite is, well, you don't know what you want to do, so yeah. Like, no, you're the one that don't know what you want to do. I know exactly where I want to go. I know the direction I want to go. You're the one that's still confused about your life. About half of 100 and still confused about your life. Almost half of 100 and damn near still confused and pretty much confused about their life, where their life is going, and how it's actually working. Sadly, it's basically one of those things where, yeah, and it's just one of those things where, like, you want to fake it till you make it. You want to talk about, well, be safe. Like, bitch, I know you don't wish me well. You fake like you wish me well. It's kind of like that one meme. The one meme with the woman with the facial expression saying, bitches wish me well, but they really don't wish me well. It's pretty much all it really is. And the sad part about that is that's literally how women act. That's literally how women act. And they want to pretend like they're innocent, or they want to pretend like they're in the right when they're in the wrong. I do not have a harem. Good Lord. That's almost as bad as a private jet. I do not own a private jet either. But yeah, it's one of those things where, like, I like only keeping women that's on their purpose around. I like keeping women who can actually do their job around. I don't want a woman because she looks pretty and that's all she has to offer, because that has no value to me. I'm all about getting this money and getting this paper. You looking pretty is not going to help me get this paper unless I'm pimping you and putting you on the street. That's not going to help me get this paper, basically, at the end of the day. So you being a woman and being in my presence doesn't have any intrinsic value to me. The question is, what do you bring to me that's of value to me at the end of the day? And the sad part about that is no woman can ever really come up with the right excuse to actually make it so that it actually is worth my while, sadly. They always want to make it sound like, they're doing me a favor when in fact I'm actually doing them a favor at the end of the day. And it's sad. It's sad. But when it comes to women that claim that they don't care what people think about them or say about them, all I got to say to that is, you claim you're strong and independent and you don't care what people say, but you still mad. that quote that I quoted at the beginning, and it's the funniest shit in the whole entire world. When you watch it happen, it's like the funniest shit in the whole entire world. And there's not very much you could do about it besides just do it or roll with the punches, sadly. It's one of those things where when you're dealing with women, they're always going to be emotional about shit, whether they like it or not, or they're always going to be vindictive or repeat shit that you said because it hurt their feelings, even though they claim it never hurts or nothing ever bothers them. Anytime they bring it up or regurgitate something you said, it hurt their feelings. The sad part about that, the fact, like a good example, I said to a woman at one time, the neat thing about women when it comes down to it is I don't really care about feelings. And that's something that women always bring to a conversation or a table or to justify shit that they do is feelings. Because a woman's always in her feelings, but a man's always using logic, but a woman's always in her feelings. Only way a man doesn't use logic when he's around a woman is if he's thinking with his small head, sadly. Any other time, a man pretty much uses logic to deal with shit at the end of the day. And the sad part about that is women, she got mad and she kept on repeating, you said women be in her feelings. You said women be in her feelings. Yeah, I know I said that. You try to throw it back in my face. Now you're just being petty for no reason, even though you say what I say don't bother you. And you're just petty about it? Really? You're just being petty about it, my guy. And it's one of those things where you literally have to look at it and be like, it's like, yeah, like you're being very petty right now, my guy. It's like you're being very petty. So it's like one of those things. It's one of those things where like you. It's one of those things where like you have to under Tico has a harem on a private blimp. This guy. This guy. This guy. But yeah, it's one of those things where you have to basically be able to mitigate the damage is done to you or anything emotionally that can be tossed your way. It's typically why I say be stoic all the time. It's always good to be stoic, or it's always good to be nonchalant, or it's always good to be, you know, whatever, for all intents and purposes. Have that whatever attitude when it comes to things. Because the sad part about that is shit won't bother you and you're able to laugh about it and laugh it off very quickly. But, you know, the people around you that claim they're strong and independent and nothing bothers you typically always live with this shit and it never goes away. And they're always upset about it. And it always bothers them. And it always, and the sad part about that, it gets under their skin to the point where they literally have to repeat it to them. They literally repeat it to you on a regular basis because it hurts. And it's the truth. The sad part about that is nobody wants to deal with the truth. And everybody always wants to make up shit on why they're dealing or why they do the shit that they do. Like a good example, I was talking to a woman the other day on the phone. And she literally was making up excuses for all the shit that she did while talking to her. While I was talking to her the whole entire time. She goes, well, I told you not to do that when we were at the bar the one day. Yeah, because somebody was sitting there and somebody was in fuse shot. What about the other times? Well, I fell on the floor. Falling on the floor has nothing to do with telling somebody that, you know, you don't want that done, especially if you're laughing and joking about it and you're accepting it and you're taking it with stride and you do it more than just those 2 times. You need to make it. That means you got to make an excuse. And the sad part about that, women are very good at making up excuses as you go along for shit, basically. If you listen to them long enough, they'll justify it somehow, some way, and then try to string it together to make it sound like it's the same thing, when in fact it's different situations and the reaction is differently. And the sad part about that, women will always pretend like they were in the right and you were in the wrong, or they didn't want something because they want that plausible deniability at the end of the day. When it comes to women always want plausible deniability. This is why they're always vague about shit or act like they don't want shit, or they can't be honest about shit because they want plausible deniability at the end of the day when it comes down to it. And this is typically how women act. This is typically how women are, because they can't be honest with you can't be honest with yourself. They can't be honest with themselves, let alone everybody else. So they gotta basically pretend like they're being honest about stuff or open and honest about anything, or they gotta brag about it or virtue signal about it when in fact they're really not. You're faker than the $2 bill. Because here's the thing that I've noticed with women. They won't talk to you about shit, but they'll talk to other people about shit. And then you'll hear shit. It's kind of like what I say about drunk people. Loose lips sink ships. The sad part about that, when a person is drunk, they typically start telling shit that you probably shouldn't have heard, but you hear it anyway, because that's typically how shit works. The sad part about that is if you can't tell that to that person, then what is the point of even having this conversation? Or what is the point of me even sticking around at the end of the day? What is the point? You can't be honest. So what is the point? You got to fake it. So what is the point? You can't be honest about anything you say or anything that comes out of your mouth, but you want a virtue signal about how honest you are. Well, you can't even be honest with your fucking self. It's basically what I say about people. If you don't love yourself, you can't expect other people to love you for yourself. And if you don't love yourself, it's never going to come until you actually learn to love yourself at the end of the day. It is what it is. You can't sit up here and lie. Yeah, professional gossipers, they definitely are. And the sad part about that, you can't sit up here and lie. Because I remember the one time this one dude said to me, I shit you not, in a bar, that, Tico, I'm coming to your wedding. I'm like, nigga, what wedding? Oh, you and such's wedding. Like, nigga, no. Like, I didn't hear nothing about this wedding, nor did I hear about anything about being in a relationship with anybody. So I'm gonna need you to clarify. Well, did a person, I think the person realized that his drunkenness got him in trouble. So he basically backpedaled and said, I'm just being an asshole. Right after I turned to the person whose wedding I'm supposed to be in with and said, what's this about a wedding that he's talking about? Oh, now I don't know what he's talking about. And I'm like, dude, why the heck do you seem nervous? The fuck's your problem? You acting all nervous and shit when you respond. I don't know what he's talking about. Like, nigga, you sound guilty. Calm down. I'm just asking a simple question because this shit caught me off guard. Like, I'm gonna need you to clarify this wedding that's supposed to take place that I know nothing about, nigga. What? No. Like, and it's shit like this that blows my mind because women can't be honest to your face, so they dance around the truth or beat around the bush just so they can have plausible deniability at the end of the day, because that's all they want. So when shit goes wrong, they can be like, well, see, this is the reason why. No. You put your own foot in your mouth and you shot your own self in the foot. Now you want to blame me for shooting your own self in the foot. It's sad, but it's true. Like, how am I in a wedding I know nothing about? How was this planned without me? Where's the ring at for me to ask the person if they want to marry me? Like, what's this going on? And the person sat there and go, oh, yeah, I'm just being an asshole, Terrence. Like, what? You're just being an asshole? Really? Like, yeah, okay, whatever, pimpin', whatever. Like, it's like, no, it slipped. You told on somebody, and now you're trying to backpedal for that person. Because I've drug them into this conversation, and now you're really backpedaling. Because the sad part about that, when I said that, I literally turned and looked at the person and said, what's going on? Then I looked away, and I looked up, and that person gave that person a look. Like, you weren't supposed to say that out loud. Literally said that. Like, they literally gave him the look like that wasn't supposed to come out your mouth at all. Like, that was supposed to be a conversation between you two. Us two, basically. That wasn't supposed to ever come out, basically. And this is typically how women are, and this is typically how women act. They always do this shit, and they wonder why shit happened to them, or they never can get ahead in life because they can't be honest with themselves, and they can't be honest with the other person at the end of the day. They want to be friends, but they never want to date, but they want to act. They want all the benefits of dating, but they want to be friends at the same damn time, sadly. You see what I'm saying? But they can't be honest with themselves, and they can't even be bothered to be honest with themselves at the end of the day. And it's sad to watch. It's very sad to watch. But you have to think about it from a standpoint, like, what can you do at the end of the day? What can you do? But this is the Tico's MGTOW Poetry Corner stream. And I'm going to leave you with this. Good night, gentlemen. And ladies who are watching. And good night to all the people in the world. Even the women that watch me in the Soviet bloc, the women that watch me in India, and the women that watch me in Arab countries. That's typically where all my women watch from. Every now and again, I'll get women from America to watch us, but typically most of the women who watch me are from the Soviet bloc, old Soviet Union bloc, basically. They're from India and they're from the Middle East. I would like to thank those viewers watching. And I would like to thank all the gentlemen from the Manosphere for watching me and taking time out of your day to watch me. But I'm going to leave you with this one. If you don't care, why are you still mad? If you don't care, why are you still mad? And that's my honest opinion on shit when it comes down to it, because that's the question I'm always going to ask somebody. Who are you trying to convince, me or yourself? Because I always can tell when somebody's like, trying to convince me of some bullshit, and they can't quite convince themselves of the bullshit. So they're trying to convince me to believe the shit that's coming out of their mouth when in fact it's like, No. I don't believe anything coming out of your mouth. I don't believe anything coming out of your mouth at all. And it's one of those things. It's one of those things where it happens. And there's only but so much you can do to mitigate it or, avoid the people, sadly. Because when it comes down to it, those people are always going to be toxic and those people are always going to be around no matter what. Because the sad part about that, they all live mediocre lives at the end of the day. And are used to being so mediocre, it's sad. And they brag about mediocre shit at the end of the day. And because they live a mediocre life. And the sad part about that is they never want to do better with their lives. They always want to make excuses for why they can't do better with their lives. Like I said, when a man comes around and it gives you an opportunity to better your life, either take it or don't. But if you don't take it, you can't be mad at that man for not standing there waiting for you forever. Because the sad part about that is this ain't Disney. This ain't no Disney princess shit. This is real life. Men of value walk away very quickly when they deem you not a valuable subject, basically, or a valuable person. At the end of the day, they'll walk away very quickly and write you off. At the end of the day, it's typically how it works. That's men of value. You're used to dating men of low value that will take you back no matter what. Sad part about that is I'm not a low value man. I drink Johnny Walker Blue. It's what I do. So at the end of the day, last I checked, Johnny Walker Blue costs more than Hennessy. Johnny Walker Blue costs more than Cavassier and Crown Royal and all that other shit that everybody talks about drinking. So at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, don't miss your window of opportunity. When you're giving it, you might want to take it, because the sad part about that, when a high value man rolls around, you're not going to get a chance to be with that high value man again. He's literally giving you an opportunity to better your life. But you're willing to make a bad decision on a person to make it bad, basically. It's basically the way of the world and the nature. Then it's basically how nature rolls, basically, at the end of the day. It's typically how it works. It's sad, but it's true. And the sad part about that is only people you have to blame is yourself. But that's all the time I have. I got to get going. Y'all be blessed and have a blessed day. Be good to yourselves. Treat yourselves like milk. Do not spoil yourselves. It don't matter if you're a female, a male, anybody. Always treat yourselves like milk and do not spoil yourselves. And always better yourselves and always try to make yourself a better version of yourself at the end of the day, whether you like it or not. That goes for men and women too. Transgender, whatever you want to call yourself. Basically, it goes for everybody. Always be willing to improve yourself and make yourself a better version of yourself at the end of the day. But everybody be blessed. This is Tico, Tren, Red Pill, live from the Vedic Ghost channel, the Eternal Sadist channel, and the Race and Gender Relations channel, along with Tico, Tren, Twitch. Y'all be blessed and have a good night. And the niggas going to bed. Good night, everybody. Outros.
Do damage on me, go flash this a Snapchat. Mama, they do intake. Hoes mad, hoes mad.
This channel is for mature audiences only. If you're underage on this channel, your parents' mom should have swallowed them or spit them out.